do you find that the individuals that you're speaking with now have that mindset of wanting to be more financially literate, wanting their policies to kind of serve that purpose? And do you feel that the industry overall is leaning in that direction where people want the education more so?
I don't think it's an industry-wide movement that you're seeing yet, but I think it's something that advisors are learning. In order to be successful, they have to be the ones to lead.
Yeah,
they have to be the ones to lead that discussion. So advisors are going to have learned quickly. Like over the last 2 years, we had lockdowns that lasted longer and have been stricter, I think, than you guys have experienced. Mm-hmm. So that was hard on very many advisors' portfolios. I mean, as accommodating as an insurance company would try to be, you can't, if you're a chef, you can't cook for free. Inevitably, you have to make some money. So an insurance company can't extend coverage for free, inevitably. So when people passed the point where of leniency with the company and policy started to lapse because people weren't working and businesses were closed, that was hard on a lot of people. Yes. But what advisors have found is you're going to have a harder time with clients like that if your business has been transactional. If you've just been talking to them about a life insurance policy and you left them with the life insurance policy and that was it. Yeah. But portfolio is going to stand up better over time when you didn't just have a discussion about life insurance. You talked about what the goals are for the family. You talked about why they need the type of coverage they need and why they need how much, and they understand. Mm-hmm. You know?
Because then it becomes a priority.
It does. Because when someone understands how insurance works and when they understand why they need it, what they should have, they take responsibility for it themselves.
That's right.
It becomes something that they need to have in place, not an expense that they have to pay.
Absolutely. No, that's great, advice, and just great guidance, for the clients and for anyone who's listening that, maybe they are coming from a background where, they've been in sales. Let's say they've been in sales before, but they have been transactional, where they, have sold a certain product or sold a widget. And this business is very different from that, because it is managing that relationship and you're managing it over time as well. You mentioned the pandemic. Do you feel as though, and please, speak to the market, to your market of Trinidad, do you feel that the market is still being affected by that? If so, in what way? And are you starting to see people beginning to kind of get used to the new world that we're doing business in?
Yeah, I think it's definitely the second way, is that people are adjusted by now to knowing that the type of jobs that you thought were a client would have, that you would count as a reliable client, isn't the same anymore. Mm-hmm. But I think we've adjusted at this point to the way we work, definitely. So everything is across Zoom as it needs to be. All our paperwork, as everything has gone digital, applications as well. So it's not that the pandemic is affecting the industry and people's success or the way they work negatively anymore. That adjustment period we've come through that. I think the harder thing has been to learn how you adjust and your balance to do this work now through the pandemic. Because me working now, I mean, I can speak for what it is for myself, for colleagues, people who have families and you're working from home. As an insurance person, building relationships takes time. And if I'm working here and my kids are next door and they're in Zoom and they need something, they're going to come knock on my door. And you have to learn you want to be able to have that separation to say you're blocking time, but it doesn't work like that. So We've come through it, understanding that it's not about balancing two things. It's about simply paying attention to what needs to be the priority in this moment.
Yes.
As you go along. So that's the adjustment that it's taken. It's not so much an adjustment about how you find clients and how you go to meet clients or anything like that. It's adjusting how you manage your life with your work, with this type of.
Yeah, sometimes, and I think with this environment, especially with having children, like my children, they're in virtual school right now, and preparing to make a transition back into an in-person environment. But sometimes I think, once again, just in humanizing, who we are, even as professionals, like I look at my camera to see if like one of my sons is going to walk through the hallway or something, because you just never know. So I think that people have become more compassionate in doing business, and sometimes it helps you to create even greater connections as well, because you're at work and your kids might pop around or make some noise in the background. Like how old are your sons?
They're 9 and 7.
9 and 7, right? So they might make some noise in the background or yell out or something, and my young ones might do the same thing. So, and it's kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm going through the same, it's like the other person on the other line, they're going through the exact same thing, So it kind of even helps strengthen that bond a little bit more. So a couple more questions, before I finish up here. I don't want to monopolize all your time, but so how would you say that your life is different now after getting licensed, getting into this industry versus before?
It is, first and foremost, more than anything else, far more intentional. Because this job demands that you use your time well. It demands that you use your energy well. So I've learned to become this job put me through enough that in the app, those first maybe 2 years, until they say it in passing that you have to grow a thick skin, but that's not enough. If that's all you do, then you haven't grown through the job. I think that my sister is one of the people who tells me that I'm much more emotionally aware. So I know if I'm feeling off, I've reached a point where I can stop and say, why am I feeling like this? Is it because that client didn't call me back? Okay, that's not within my control. What can I do about it? And I'm far more aware and intentional about how I work, when I work, how and what I spend my time on. Because your time is your asset. You don't have to put anything else into this work. You don't have to invest capital. You don't have to go and buy a building. You don't have to put anything else into it the way you have to do with another startup or going off on your own as an entrepreneur in any other way. What you have to invest is your time and your energy. So I've learned to be far more focused with that.
So being focused, being more intentional. It sounds like, emotionally, more emotionally intelligent, as well, and thicker skin. So, the next question I was going to ask is, how do you feel like having a license has changed you as a person? But it sounds like, it's giving you some of those additional attributes in your character. Is that a fair assessment, or? Very
much so. I think there were days when I started this job when it didn't even take a no. I didn't even have to be rejected. It just had to be the idea of going to meet a prospect who I felt intimidated by, just because in my head I had built them up into this big deal of a possible client. There were times where I've been curled up in a ball, like in fetal position, I kid you not, dreading to go to a meeting. And to grow past that, to tell myself, I'm gonna message them. They say no, fine. A week has passed and they haven't answered me. I'm just going to send you a message and be like, well, I need to know whether this is a priority for you right now or not, and leave it there. Having grown that much for this, it wouldn't have happened if I had been in any other job.
So many things just like happening in our head, right? When we think about, meeting with people, how we think it's going to go, and then it ends up being something completely different. So what is something that being licensed, something that having a license has allowed you to do that you weren't able to do before, like spending, like from a time standpoint, finance standpoint, anything?
It's allowed me to, two things really, I think. One, it's it's allowed me to be with my kids a whole lot more. I mean, and that matters. There isn't anything else that matters more than that. I was able to make a decision to say that my kids are old enough now, and so they're starting extracurriculars and swimming and these kinds of things. And for me to decide that I'm going to be the one that's going to take them. And for the hour that they're in the pool, I'm going to sit and I'm going to watch them. I'm not going to be on my phone. I don't have to be at work. I don't have to ask permission to go to see them. I can go and sit and watch my kids swim.
Yes.
Yeah, like I would have had to ask permission, like I said, if I was working for someone else in another job. That's not something I'd be able to do. Yeah, and then this second thing I think that I've gotten, because I'm a licensed insurance advisor, is a clear sense of who I am. Like I've had the impression. So today, my sister suggested we go, asked me to go out and do something with her this week, and it crossed my mind like insurance mom doesn't do that. So it's a clear sense of who I am and who I'm not.
Yes.
You know, if you're just punching in and out of 9 to 5, you won't find that so easily either.
I agree. I mean, I think having that true sense of purpose and having all things align. They say, if you enjoy what you do, you never work a day in your life. And being able to do something that really does mesh well with your goals and your objectives for who you are and the impact that you want to make in the world is very, very important. So, Nicole, at this point in your career, you've experienced success, you have the time freedom, you've grown as a person, you're starting to even expand your client base, into different levels. What's the dream now? Like what is the goal? What's the end goal for Nicole Chaitan-Kissoon, for Insurance Mom?
Well, there are two paths, and I don't think I've completely decided where I want to go with it. There's the management path, there's that one. I've not gone anywhere near it yet, just because I think being responsible for my mental framework and managing my portfolio is enough for me. I don't want to be responsible for someone else's yet. But the other path is incorporating as an agent. So that for us here is you're registering a company and you're putting your license, instead of as an individual license, you're licensed as a business. Your compensation structure changes and you manage more. So there's more room for growth. Then that can go on and into a brokerage where I could be writing business, not just for one company, but for multiple. So that's one. It could go either way, but the end goal, whichever path I decide to take, the end goal is freedom. The end goal is enough passive income coming from an existing portfolio of clients where I don't have to go look out for new clients if I don't want to, or at least if I don't want to today. I think that's everybody's end goal these days, now that, like, as you said, people are leaning towards financial literacy is actually becoming a thing, whether or not it's taught in schools. So the end goal is that.
Not taught in schools here. I don't know if it's taught in schools there. It's not taught in schools.
Of course it's not, but my kids are learning. My kids are learning. Right. My 9-year-old knows how life insurance works. So we're not playing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So, for someone else who is listening to this interview, and you've dropped a ton of, just jewels and gems and just insightfulness that I think is going to add a ton of value to whomever, hears this conversation, this interview. But for someone who is maybe considering an opportunity, maybe they've met with a company, maybe they saw an advertisement, maybe they're, looking at, your posts on LinkedIn and wondering if, maybe I don't know, this could be interesting. What advice but they're on the fence about whether they want to get into this industry or not. What kind of advice or just last few words would you give to them?
When people ask that, I'm always afraid that I don't want to say anything that's going to scare them off the fence in the other direction, because I don't ever want to sugarcoat it and make anyone think that, coming into this, you're going to be rich, you're going to make so much money. It's anything. But then I don't want to scare them off. I think it would be the most important thing you could tell somebody coming into this. It's probably what one of my now clients told me when I just started, when we just start, we have to fill out these, we have to get 50 people to do a questionnaire for us.
Okay.
So it's a way of getting clients, getting names for referrals. And one of the last questions that they fill out on the questionnaire for us is, as a new agent, what would be some advice that you would give to me? And this client wrote, persistence is key. And that applies through everything, through the ups and the downs, through the crunch time, through the lulls, everything in this business. Persistence is key.
Persistence is key. It might even be just taking the test.
Persistence is key. You just keep going.
Yeah, no, persistence is key. No, I appreciate, the time today. And, I think what you're doing is outstanding. If people want to know more about Insurance Mom, if they want to get in contact with you, if we have some folks in Trinidad and Tobago, they're hearing the interview and they're like, hey, she sounds like somebody I want to do some business with. How do they get in contact with you?
Well, they can get me through everything social media. So LinkedIn or Instagram. LinkedIn is Nicole-Kissoon, Insurance Mom. Instagram is Nicole-Kissoon_Insurance Mom.
All right. And we'll have all of that on the video portion of the interview and in the description, of the podcast on wherever you're listening, to this conversation right now. Nicole, thank you very much once again. And for those who are listening, persistence is key. And maybe you heard something tonight that makes you think, I'm going to be persistent and get a license. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Thank you.